Hello, my friends, esteemed colleagues, and family. I was asked many times by vegans and vegetarians how can they benefit from self-healers protocol. Now, this is a question that, if you study my work, or if you are just even briefly familiar with my work, you understand that the healthy diet is not a vegan or vegetarian diet. But, needless to say, there is a way that people can live relatively healthy on a vegan diet. Not vegetarian, not cooked, but raw vegetable diet. And again, how to do this? Well, all we have to do is look at the world of animals. When we are talking about herbivores, vegetables that are designed to thrive on vegetables, we notice that we have two different types of herbivores. Ones are the ones that have a complex stomach. Here we are talking about separate fermentation bag. We call it rumen. So those specialized herbivores are ruminants. Now, animals with rumen, this is your cow, your goat, your sheep. But if you go out to nature, your deer, your antelope, moose. But all the other animals that also eat vegetables or greenery, they have what we call the simple stomach, like the rest of animals have, including carnivores and omnivores, signifying that even though they eat vegetables, they cannot be as proficient of taking energy out of the vegetable as the ruminants, the animals with the fermentation bag, can do. Now we are being told all kinds of stuff about the gut bacteria. Why do I have to mention gut bacteria? Because this is actually what you digest as ruminant. When we are talking about fermentation, what is happening in a fermentation process in a rumen or fermentation bag? Well, vegetables, under influence of bacteria, their fiber breaks down because the bacteria does have cellulase, enzyme that breaks down cellulose. We understand that plants are made of sugar and of different forms, and the structure of a plant, the fiber, is made out of a complex sugar we call cellulose. Now, this type of complex sugar, animals basically cannot break down. Mammals cannot break it down. Majority of animals, there are some worms and bacteria that can do this. Now, there is a reason for this, and I have explained that plants will cover starch with a film of cellulose, being it the cellular membrane of plant is made out of cellulose, same as the fiber. So when we eat raw vegetables, we actually cannot get to starch, and we cannot the only thing we can get to is the fiber and a little bit of juice that we secrete, that we can extract. Now, the juice is the fluid like that replaces blood in animals, the sap, whatever you want to call it. So, depending on a plant, but the sap usually is basically water. It contains some minerals locally that can be absorbed by the roots, which is not the whole spectrum of minerals. And the only thing that plant really has there is then glucose and sugar, fructose, because this is what plant is using. Plant is using glucose for nourishment, for energy, and fructose is using to attract animals to serve the plant without poisoning them. It cannot give them glucose because glucose will alter their mechanism in general. Not only digestive system, but the whole mechanism of animal is going to be altered if it is nourished by glucose. So plants, they want to attract animal to spread the seed. But if plant would offer glucose, this is going to be bad for the animal. So offers fructose because fructose has no impact on animal. And we are being wrongly always projected. Remember, everything that is commonly known, everything that doctor spews out or scientist of any kind is contrary to the truth, because we are being misguided on every level. So doctors attack fructose all the time. Bad, 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 bad. It's actually the best type of a sweetener if you want to use sweetener, because it doesn't alter metabolism of animals. It will not alter our metabolism if it is absorbed into the bloodstream. Body does not have any particular need for it or job for it. It cannot even serve in energy production. So body then is forced to convert it into fat. And then we use the fat, no harm done. Yes, some uric acid will be produced, but uric acid is easily eliminated as long as our blood is well hydrated. And anyway, when we eat a lot of glucose, a lot of starches, we use very small amount for energy directly. The majority of it will be reprocessed by liver because we have no storage for glucose. We cannot deposit those flaky, brainwashed scientists that claim that body will use the glucose that we eat and deposit it in a form of glycogen. They are misled. They don't understand how the nature works at all, because glycogen is produced within a cell, and for its production fat is used. So cells use a fat and turn it into glucose and then bind it to protein to hold it there without cell using it, and it's for emergency. It's emergency fuel. I call it booster fuel. Anyway, I spoke about it many times. I wrote about it, so go and check it out. Anyway, so what happens is that when ruminants eat greenery, and remember, they eat green, they don't eat the roots. So they don't eat potato, they don't go in the starch. Even some starchy foods like beans, if they eat them, they can die, because they will go into rumen, and once when seed is broken, the membrane, cellulose membrane, is only on the surface. It's covering the seed. Once when this is gone, the seed itself contains some starch, and the breakup of this in a rumen is going to cause a lot of gas. It causes gas in us when we eat this stuff. So we say, oh, with far too good heart, we make all kinds of stupid slogans. Nothing could be further from truth. Beans are toxic to us. And so they are toxic to herbivores, especially ruminants. And they can blow up. They create a lot of gas. They cannot burp it out because this reflex does not come from rumen. They just blow up, and our heart gets compressed, and they die. Unless, veterinarians can make a hole into rumen and just let the gas out. Actually, a big thing is now in meat production that 3 months before slaughter, they start feeding cows grain. Because what happens with the grain, with animals, happens same like happens to us. They start getting fat. Because a lot of starch comes into, a lot of glucose comes into the blood, and the animals start to turn it in the liver into fat and deposit in a tissue. And you get beefier steaks, you get fattier steak with more fat, like fat mosaic. So this is a big deal now. But what happens is the cow would explode with this. So when they start feeding cows the last 3 months with starch, starch basically, so they make opening of the rumen. So they leave it open. So the gas can come out all the time. And actually, they go and once or twice a day with a hand, with a glove, and they stir in the rumen all this to get the gas, all that gas out. But a lot of sugar is being produced, a lot of glucose is being produced that is then absorbed, because then they regurgitate, and it goes into the gut, into proper stomach, and then into gut, absorbs, and they have a lot of sugar. They don't have time to become diabetic, because you don't get diabetic in 3 months. But they will be turning a lot of this sugar into fat and distributing it through the body. And fat will start accumulating, not only fat in fat tissue, but also through the muscles. Anyway, so when ruminants eat grass and greenery, in a rumen, under influence of bacteria, this is going to start breaking down. But more so, this is actually food for this bacteria. So the bacteria thrives. You call it gut flora. Well, the rumen is full of it. And you are actually feeding the gut flora. It's, I don't know, like fish farming. You are gut farming in the fermentation bag. And when you produce a lot of this bacteria, then the ruminant regurgitates it back into the mouth, chews it again, and then as a protein, it is directed, and fat, animal fat, it is directed into the regular stomach for digestion. Regular stomach always works with acidity. It doesn't work with alkalinity. But this way they are getting substantial amount of bacteria with their fat and enough to nourish the animal. Of course, they eat a lot. They constantly have to eat. They are grazing, and then when not grazing, they are laying down and they are chewing, regurgitating, chewing and swallowing. They're constantly, mouth is running. And they're pretty efficient on it. They can live pretty well on this. Well, the animals that eat vegetables and have simple stomach, that they don't have the rumen, they don't have the luxury of this. So either they have a huge stomach, like a horse, for example, like gorilla, where food can sit a little longer and ferment before being digested. And then as it ferments, as more protein is there, then more acid starts forming and breaks this bacteria down and fats down into amino acids, fatty acids. Then again it gets neutralized before it goes into intestine and it being absorbed. Now, some animals have to be pretty agile. They are being hunted and they don't have such a big stomachs, and still they eat vegetables, like here in South America, capybara, for example. So what happens with them? When they have time to lay on the sun and digest a little longer, they are fine. But if they are a little bit more active, this doesn't give them enough time. They do not produce enough bacteria that they can then nourish themselves from. But the thing is that once when the food, the greenery that started the fermentation process already in the stomach, as it goes through intestine, the fermentation process continues. So bacterial growth continues. And actually, the most of the bacteria you are going to have in a colon. But unfortunately, you cannot digest them. You have to put them back in your mouth. They have to go in the stomach to be digested. Your peristaltic wave of the intestines, it doesn't go from the anus towards your mouth. It goes from the mouth, from stomach, down to your anus. So what happens with capybara? Very often, capybara is known to eat their excrement, because the excrement is way more nourishing than the greenery that they eat, because already has been fermented, is loaded with bacteria. So it's like a double processing. The same thing we can see in rabbits. Rabbits, it's a common knowledge, they eat their excrement. And because they have to run a lot, they are very active, no matter how much they eat, and they also eat constantly. You will never find in the nature fat rabbit. And it is known thing, even in general, that people who eat a lot of rabbit meat, they are very skinny and they have energetic problems, because there is not enough fat in there, not even under the skin. Rabbits don't have fat. Capybara don't have fat. It's a meat, only muscle. So rabbits, to increase the efficiency, energetic load of the food? Well, they allow it to ferment in their whole intestinal tract, and then when they have excrement, they eat their excrement to gain all these benefits of the bacteria. Now this reminds me, and always, my wife, women in general, I like them more than men. Did you wash your hands? Did you wash your hands? Did you wash your hands? Well, what from? Why? You see, if we are being told that gut flora, oh, this is extremely important. The more diverse the gut flora you have, the better for you, because that works with your immune system. This is basically your immune system of the body, and this produces myelin and all kinds of stuff. You think better, it's your second brain. Frankly, if you think like this, then you have shit for brain, because it's a pure nonsense. It's ridiculous. I've proven it many times over, and everybody can prove it for themselves. If you feel lousy and you have digestive problems, go fast for a week, 2 weeks. Fast with plasma, and you will see how great you will start to feel. And you start having diarrhea because you start cleansing. Your body starts cleansing. And you drink plasma, you are having diarrheas every day. There is almost no bacteria left, and you feel sharp. You sleep like a baby. You feel great. So in which way was this huge amount of crap you have of this bacteria in your gut, in which way was there healthy and helping you? It's nonsense. But at the same time, it is nonsense to be concerned about this excrement being bad because it's full of bacteria. I mean, boats have to have holding tanks, and then they put toxic chemicals in there to kill the bacteria before they are allowed to discharge it in the water. What are we thinking? Are we thinking at all? There's nothing toxic about the excrement. Many animals eat their excrement to be able to be healthy. A matter of fact, vegan, if you want to eat only vegetables, and we know raw is the way to go, the only way you can be healthy eating raw vegetables, you have to eat your shit. Because you have small acidic stomach. You will not be able to do much fermentation. Of course, it is not going to be acidic when you put raw vegetables in it. And this is when Helicobacter pylori may grow in your stomach because nothing kills it. It's not enough acidity. You cannot even digest properly. And then you have stomach problems, and you have ulcers, and doctors find bacterium Helicobacter pylori. Oh, that's the problem. We gotta kill the sucker. It's not a problem. Your gut is full of it, and there is no problem in the gut. Why should be problem in the stomach? You are being poisoned by food that you are eating, which is not your food. But already, if you choose to do this, and you want to be healthy and energetic, well, your gut bacteria, lower down in your digestive tract you have it, the more bacteria will be there. They multiply, they grow like crazy. So the most of them will be in your colon and go out with the excrement. This is why dogs often love to eat human excrement, because they go by vibration, by smell, they see what is in there. and they know it's nourishing. Dogs themselves, especially puppies. When a moron vet sold you a dry food for puppies, it's a pure poison. This is pure carbohydrate. And puppies sometimes get diarrhea. They can not live on this healthy. And they start eating poop on the street. Well, why do you think they eat poop on the street? Because poop is going to be healthier than the stupid dog food that you are buying and paying a lot of money for. We just are so brainwashed. We are living in such a veil of lies that it's we cannot even imagine that something like this can be going on. Vegans, vegetarians, when you come out of the bathroom, instead of washing your hands, lick them up. That's your food that you are eliminating, because you are certainly not being fed by the cellulose fiber that you are trying to shove in your gut. And we see the examples in the nature. There are animals, they have to eat their poop to be healthy, because they are eating vegetables which they are not really adjusted perfectly for. So we have to learn from nature. Maybe I'm weird, but I rather sit behind a steak than behind a poop when I'm eating. And for example, cow can also eat meat. And if cow swallows meat, it doesn't go in fermentation back. It goes directly into proper stomach. By frequency, it's being separated right away, which way it's going to go, one way or the other way. So we just have to be pointed in the right direction. Because everything we are told is a lie. Doesn't matter where it comes from. Especially what comes from school books. This is geared to create morons. Again, just look at the new college graduate. They think that if they put little makeup and put long hair, they all of a sudden became women. And they should be treated like a woman. They're morons. Disconnected idiots. And same with the broads that think they are men. Because they cut their hair short. And take the makeup off and look ugly. Now they think they look like men. What the freaking world we have created. It is time for this whole thing to collapse. So finally the truth can go out. I am disclosing truth for over 20 years. How many people know about what I'm saying? Very few. Many came to my site. Many opened my video and right away shut it down. Because the truth will not resonate with someone who only knows lies. Those are all programs. Knowledge is a program. And we accept the first thing that goes in, and then every other information we judge according to one that we already accepted as the truth. So once when you have been told that you should eat veggies, they are healthy, and then all of a sudden someone tells you, no, veggies are crap, don't eat this crap, eat meat. Then the program says, oh, that's stupid, this is not my teacher, my mother, my professor, I saw it in a movie, I saw it in science fiction. We live in a world of lies. Everything that everyone knows is untrue. Do you know that the reality that you see is actually a dream state? That it actually does not exist. All there is electromagnetic frequency. I don't know, maybe 5% of people on this planet are aware of that fact. And if this is so, it means that atoms don't exist. But then yes, we can say the smallest energetic sources of frequency, we can call them atoms. But then they are nothing like what our science is telling us. Newtonian science is baloney. So is the chemistry. The old alchemy, that was close. But new chemistry, biochemistry, it's a nonsense. Well, are you ready to drop the knowledge you have and start from scratch, learning from scratch? Very few are willing to do so, especially if your title is behind it. This is why I don't use titles. Title just shows you that you have been brainwashed. So don't pride yourself with, oh, I am a doctor, I'm a, I don't know, primarius, I'm a PhD, and whatever. Those are titles of brainwashing. Don't pride yourself with this stuff. Especially don't put it into your name. I am not the Dr. Darko Velcek. I am Darko Velcek. Title is meaningless. So, here we go. How can a vegan be healthy? Eat your own poop. That's all I can tell you. May sound disgusting. Many people, weirdos, are doing this for different reasons. Personally, I stick to steak. Well, thank you for listening, and hopefully see you in my next video. Be aware, our planet is loading on ionic activity coming from the central sun. Frequency is rising, Schumann frequency is rising dramatically, which means our frequency, alpha brain frequency, is rising, which means we are shifting. Our cellular structure is shifting. Our DNA is activating, the dormant DNA is activating. We are absorbing activation codes. It's getting tighter and tighter. As soon as you start seeing Aurora Borealis, Northern Lights, closer to the equator, know that time is short before we are going to lose this type of reality we have. We are going to be shifting in another step higher. And human consciousness of some humans has risen enough to trigger this shift. Because overall, we have to have certain level of consciousness. But small group of people really rose their consciousness very high, which pulls out everybody else. So it's going to be very interesting. But many people will have to awaken. let's hope this final disclosure is going to help awakening, at least to political stuff. The science, yeah, it's gonna just collapse and we'll start learning from scratch. Anyway, thank you for being here. Love you all. God bless us all. Namaste.